Hello, my conservation friends. I wish I could be with you today. It's been not just a wild and crazy 2020 with COVID and the presidential campaign, the unsettled weather that we've dealt with in Oklahoma. We've also started off a wild session in 2021. So when I say I wish I was in Oklahoma with you, I sincerely mean it. But that said, we're underway for the 117th session of Congress, a new 2-year period. I still will have the privilege of representing the 3rd District of Oklahoma, almost half the land mass of the great state. I'll still serve as the senior Republican, the ranking member on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, with its jurisdiction over the National Weather Service, National Science Foundation, all those space service, all those things that matter to us at home. I'll also be in financial services. But you know where my heart is. It's with my profession. It's with the House Agriculture Committee. And I'm working very closely with my friends on the committee as we get ready for the 2023 Farm Bill. Although that's 2 years away, the hearing process, the public input, looking at what's worked and what's not worked, from the commodity titles all the way to those ever important conservation programs, will be involved in that. Now, add on top of that a change in administration. We have a new Secretary of Agriculture, who's an old Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack from Iowa. He and I developed a very close working relationship when I was chairman of the committee in the process of writing the 2012 that became the 2013 that ultimately became the 2014 Farm Bill. The bill that was the pattern for and ultimately became the product of the 2018 Farm Bill, and I think will be the basis of the 2023 Farm Bill also. Secretary Vilsack and I had a period of time where we had to come to understand and appreciate each other. He, of course, comes from Iowa. Some might argue that's a cornfield with some soybeans on the edge and a few little towns in the middle. I just simply like to say that it's one of those places where they measure their soil in feet, where they pray for dry weather to plant, I'm told. They pray for dry weather to harvest. Now, in my part of the 3rd District of Oklahoma, if my father or my grandfathers had ever caught me praying for dry weather, they'd have washed my mouth out, and they would have been justified in doing it. But in the course of that previous Farm Bill, in his previous tenure, I developed a good working relationship with Tom. So I must confess, of all the people who could have potentially become your next Secretary of Agriculture, our next Secretary of Agriculture, I think we're fortunate to have Secretary Vilsack. But this is a different administration, both in the Trump administration or the Obama administration before that Secretary Vilsack served under. There's going to be a different focus from the White House. They're very concerned about racial equality, addressing issues in USDA programs and within the implementation of USDA to try and address issues that were, well, probably not done correctly in the past and may still have some issues. They're very focused down at the White House, and the Secretary will have to reflect this on their climate agenda. Now, whether that's the phrase global warming from a few years ago, or climate mitigation, whatever the term is, they're very focused on climate issues. And these are the kind of things. Oh, and by the way, the Secretary understands that we have some issues in the livestock industry, in the food chain, particularly in the packing efforts that have to be addressed. And I think we'll get around to all those. But the bottom line is this: the Secretary's indicated, as he practiced in the past, a support for incentive-based voluntary conservation. I will work diligently to make sure that he stays with that, because working together, you and I and a whole bunch of our friends in Oklahoma and in the conservation movement all over America, through a whole series of farm bills, whether it was establishing the upstream flood control rehab program or establishing systematically in the 2014 Farm Bill a new construction program to work on finishing all of those upstream flood control dams yet uncompleted, or every other conservation program out there, we have made huge progress in the last 20 years. And if you'll stay as involved and as committed as you have been, working with me, working through me, working beside me, then the next 4 years will only be a positive experience. I know there's a lot of cynicism out in the countryside. I know there's a lot of cynicism across the country. But as long as we're working together to preserve the soil, the water, the air, as long as we're working in a way through voluntary incentive-based conservation to encourage our fellow citizens, to provide them the resources to be able to do what they want to do anyway, protect that soil, protect that water, protect that air, then I think we'll be just fine. But it's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Just a little bit on the political side, not only a new secretary, but remember in the United States Senate, there's 50 Republicans, there's 50 Democrats. Control is determined every morning when Vice President Harris comes and votes with the Democrats. 50-50, and she breaks the tie. That's as close as it can get. On the side that I serve in, I'm still in the political minority, but we gained enough seats that when all the smoke settles, there'll only be a 5-vote difference out of 435 between Republicans and Democrats. That's about as evenly divided as you can get also. So what does that mean? Well, I hope that means that we'll all work together. I hope that means that we'll all understand that no one can force anything through on their own if it really is policy oriented, if it really matters. And if that's the case, then we'll have to work to achieve consensus. Nothing wrong with doing the things that we can agree on. Again, thank you for everything you've done in the last 2 decades plus to help me. And I pledge to continue to work with you so that together we can continue our mission. Because it's not just today, tomorrow, next year. It's our children, it's our grandchildren, it's our great-grandchildren. It's the legacy that we leave for the future of not just Oklahoma, but the country. Again, thank you.